March 28, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini 2000 tick chart on the Thinkorswim platform. You can look down at the description to see timestamps where I thought I saw setups and where I actually took my trades. This is what the market looked like today. There was one news catalyst, but it didn't look like it affected the market all that much. The catalyst was like the consumer confidence, which came out at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard, which is right about here. It didn't look like it really made the market go too crazy. So I didn't think it was all that important. Well, it's important, but it wasn't all that important to the price action. This is how I drew up my chart. I took a total of 2 trades today, both for green. And let me just get rid of these guys real quick, make it a little clear. I kind of saw just kind of one big trading range, kind of here and here. And even then, it didn't fit quite that nicely because it didn't confirm at the top or bottom very well. Because maybe at the top, it confirmed 2 times. And at the bottom, it confirmed, I guess you could stretch it to say maybe 3 times, but I did see these overlapping trading ranges as well as these trend channels. So for the most part, it was kind of just a sideways day. Volatility was very low, just like yesterday. There wasn't a lot of price movement because if you look from 6:30 to about 12, right here, there isn't that many candles. Whereas if you were to look at a 1-minute chart, then you'll see a whole lot more, even a 5-minute. So let's just go ahead and take a look at those. So if you look at, well, let's just look at a 5-minute. 5-minute kind of doesn't show that much, but if you look at a 1-minute, well, let's just go look at a 2-minute because I happen to have it. It's just, it just didn't really have that much resolution. So 2000 tick didn't really show too much today, but let's go into the trades today. This is the pre-market. So pre-market, it looked like it was kind of already developing a bearish, bias because it wasn't a consolidation right here. But even from here, from when the market opened at 3 p.m. the previous day to about midnight, there wasn't that much price action, not much movement. There's not that many candles being formed. So right here is when the market opens. That's where I start actually looking for trades. I mean, I might look for trades back here, but it's already after the fact, and it's just more to practice my chart reading. So prices just kind of opened. It's pretty, well, not very exciting today. It wasn't a lot of setups that I saw. And the first one that I did see was kind of here. Right at the open, I consider this a new high. This is higher than the previous, even the pre-market. It sells off, and then it makes a first entry high, first entry long here, goes up, pulls back, and right here sets up for second entry long. This is a pretty decent candle, but the EMA is cutting right through, so it feels a little congested. So I didn't want to take that trade. Turns out, it would have worked, but you'd have to sit through this for a few minutes to actually see it work, get your scalp. And it just did feel like it was moving sideways. So here you'd probably get a 1-point scalp. 2 points, you'd be stretching it depending on where you got your entry. Prices continue moving. At this point, I draw what I think is a trading range here. It was actually a little bit tighter. I actually had it cutting through the top here, and then later I dragged it up. But it doesn't really matter for the next setup that I saw. It's a new high, first entry long right here. Goes down, and it's getting ready to set up a second entry long. Now, this is actually a really good signal bar. It bounces off the bottom of this, bounces off the bottom of this trading range. Actually, at the time, I had it a little bit higher. That's how come it seems a little confusing, because I actually had it about right here. And then I had the top of this guy about right here. And I just had a small little overshoot. But then later, of course, I adjusted it. But it looked like it was going pretty good. It would have worked. Had enough room to get up to the top, but again, the EMA was kind of cutting through the middle of it, so I was a little hesitant. Prices continue down, and I do see another setup here. So a new high goes down. It's a first entry long. And then here's setting up potentially for another second entry long because it has a pullback right here. So this is also a really good signal bar. Bounced off this bottom of this channel. And at the time when I had my trading range up here, where this gray horizontal line is for my crosshairs, I saw this as like an overshoot or fail breakout. And so I thought, this could have been a potential entry. However, since this is so choppy, I wasn't 100% sure where my gray line was. was actually the bottom of the trading range, or was it actually down here where I ended up drawing it? So again, it's an aggressive trade, but it would have worked because there's enough room back to the top, even if I had my top of my trading range drawn where this gray crosshair is. So that's kind of a trade that I missed because I think I over analyzed it. And also it happened rather quickly because this happened at 7:02 and this is like 7:01, 7:02. Then you look at this one, this is also 7:03. So it happened pretty quickly. If you put it one tick above, you probably would have gotten filled. But if you tried to get a little bit less risk down here, I don't know that you would have gotten filled. So the price is continue moving. It breaks out of this trading range. And here I see another setup. I see a new low here. And this is your first entry short. Goes all the way up, doesn't break below until it gets to here. There's a second entry short. So the second entry short, I considered perhaps it was a failed breakout to come back into, this eventual trading range, but it is kind of far. There's enough room to the EMA. If you took that trade, I don't know if you would have gotten, well, you might have gotten filled, and I don't know if you, depending on what your scalp profit is, you might have gotten out just barely. But I also saw this as a potential failed second entry short. The reason I see it as a failed second entry short because I saw this trend channel going up. I did at one point have it a little bit tighter like this, kind of seeing like two legs up right here to here. And then I saw well, let's go ahead and drop it in. So it's this guy here. And I saw this breakout push to a new high, and then it kind of broke out a second time and it pushed to another new high. So that's where I ended up settling with this guy because I thought these two swings plus this one fit a little bit better, especially when it came and formed this candle. When it went up, came out, I thought, okay, this probably is the channel. And I actually didn't have this trading range top drawn yet because I wasn't sure where it was yet. This is kind of the big one, but it shows up later. So when I saw this candle, I thought, okay, there's probably a failed second entry short, an attempt to make a new extreme. So that's a possible trade there. It also formed above the EMA, but the one drawback is I was tempted to take this trade, but I felt like, it's a little bit far from the EMA. If this whole setup with the EMA was a lot closer, I would have just jumped on the trade for sure. Turns out it would have worked. Then it comes back down, breaking out of the trading range, and it comes back down. And this is where I take my first trade. I see a new high here. I saw a first entry long. I saw a second entry long. But when it closed right here, I said, that's pretty bearish. And I thought it was breaking back into this trading range. So it's like kind of failed breakout. I made two attempts to break out and it came back down. And also made one attempt to go out. And then the second attempt, the EMA is holding it. So I put my order right here because it's kind of an aggressive trade, but I'd like that it formed below the EMA and closed below the EMA. Even though it's a green candle, it's a bearish green candle. And I also had this trend channel drawn at the time, and I saw this first breakout, and I thought since it kind of closed, you can argue it's either inside or outside depending how you drew it. I argue that it was kind of closed back inside, so it's moving back down. So I took the trade, was able to get my scalp, and then the runner got stopped out on this candle because once this got my scalp, I moved my runner to break even plus one tick just to get my commissions covered. It was right here, and then this candle took me out. It's a little unfortunate because if I actually kept it up here, the risk is if your runner gets stopped out, then you give back some of the profits from your core, and I didn't want to do that. So ends up it would have worked out really well if I was, more patient, or I just had a larger size for my scalp. So if I had like, a bunch of contracts for my scalp, it would have, made more than enough to have the risk of having my runner stopped out back here. But I only trade for two contracts, one runner and one core. So I couldn't really manage that. So then prices continue moving down, chop sideways. It moves into this next trading range. I don't really quite see anything that I like. Like yesterday, there are a bunch of second entries that you could consider. Like you could definitely count this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long. However, all these second entries indicating kind of a choppy market, they aren't high probability and they don't quite check all the boxes for me to want to take a trade. Certainly you could take it if you're just playing strictly off, okay, is it a second entry? And if it is a second entry, you take it. But the whole context, if you don't take it into consideration, you're just kind of probably going to churn a bunch of contracts and end up losing a lot and winning a lot. But then all of it kind of maybe turns out to be break even. But then when you add in the cost of commission plus the emotional roller coaster, I didn't think it was worth it. So prices continue moving up. I draw this channel because I thought it kind of fit here 2 times and then kind of fit here 2 times. It's a little bit off right now, but I just kind of use that as a working guideline. And then I saw a potential failed second entry short because I saw this as kind of like a new low being made. And I said, okay, then it goes up. And then I saw this as a new low potentially because this is a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. But if you saw it as one big move, first entry short, potential second entry short. And then if you count it from down here as a new low, it could be first entry short, second entry short. So you have 2 second entry shorts right now, but it's above the EMA. So I'm looking potentially at a failed second entry short because right here kind of confirmed that prices are correcting. It has 2 measure moves up almost because I drew one here and I drew a second one here. So when this formed, I thought there's enough room to try to make it back up to here or at least touch the other side of this trend channel. So that's where I took my trade. And right now, prices in the past, it looks like it's just kind of whippy. It's kind of consolidating sideways. So I took this trade. I like that it bounced off this bottom of this trend line. So let's see. I actually took it. Let's see where I took it. I'm pretty sure I didn't take it right on this guy. Yeah, I took it on this guy. So this signal bar for failed second entry short wasn't quite good enough. It did break above this guy. So when you made your second entry short here, or your visual second entry, it breaks above. And I waited for this one to close because I didn't quite feel comfortable with this one. It felt too neutral. This one also just made me wonder if it's too neutral, but I did like the double top here. So I did put my entry at 4,125, which is actually a little bit step back behind. It's actually 1 tick above this guy. And it got filled and it went out and it took my core, which is this guy. And so then I just managed my runner 1 tick below. And then finally got taken out right here, just about right here, 1 tick below. And so it's a decent trade. It's unfortunately it didn't break out and run, but I was able to get a quick scalp and I guess a semi runner out of it. So prices continue moving up. It breaks out of this trend channel now. And it looks like it's starting to chop sideways again. A lot of sideways action today. I did see a failed second entry long because I counted this as a new high. Excuse me. Now this is a new high. I saw this as a first entry long. And then I saw this as a second entry long. But when it closed, the second entry long, I thought this is going to be a failed second entry long. And it was like it's a good signal bar. The EMA is rejecting the prices. And I wasn't 100% sure though, because I saw a potential that there's a support line right here because it looked like it tried a couple times here, moved up, and now when it bounced off of this guy on the previous candle, I was concerned if I took a trade, it might bounce off of here and then, either stop me out if it breaks back or reverses. So I left that trade alone. Turns out it would have worked, comes down, but of course you're not 100% sure at the time because this one, I wasn't sure if this top of the trading range was here. I was pretty certain. I thought there was another trading range here, but then what gave me pause is the potential that this could actually be the bottom of the trading range. That's why this trade wasn't taken. Prices continue moving down. I see this potential trend channel. I draw this, touch, 3 touches, and then 2 touches here. I would like another confirmation at the bottom, but at least I know the top could be a resistance. I kind of just kept watching price action. And here I do see a second entry short. I see a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. I like that it bounced, or not bounced, but I like that the EMA rejected. It's a really nice signal bar, but it's also close to the previous low. So this could have a bounce here, a reaction, or it could actually move all the way down to this bigger trading range. And I'm not sure at the time because as you can see, it could come down all the way down further, but there's also like a potential second, like if there's a potential support right here. So all that taken into consideration, I wasn't sure, or I don't have enough experience to know what's likely to happen, so I left it alone. Prices could keep going flash down, so it would have been a good trade, but again, At the time, it didn't look like a good trade, so I got to leave it alone. Prices are riding the bottom of this trend channel. Now we have an overshoot, and I'm thinking it's going to probably correct and move back up. So it does start correcting and move back up. I see a potential one leg up. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a second leg up. There is like a second entry short here, new low here, first entry short, second entry short, but this is a terrible signal bar, so I don't like that. Just rather leave it alone. Then I draw this second leg, and I'm thinking it could touch here and break out to the other side. This overshoot, symmetric on this other side. But then from here, I don't know if it's going to continue going up or break down. So I just have to keep sitting, watching, and waiting. Don't be too quick on the trigger. It goes back, corrects, and right now it looks like the EMA is kind of holding prices. I see a second entry long here. I didn't take this trade though because I saw new high, first entry long, and another clean leg down. And this is potentially forming a second entry long. Now, this is the signal bar. It closed pretty bullish. And then the trigger bar, I waited and I wanted to see if it would cleanly grit through the EMA, which it didn't. Had this trigger bar actually closed like a hammer up here, I think I would have entered because it would have been kind of telling me that two legs have pulled down, two legs up, two legs down, because this is another leg down and another leg down, but inside this were two smaller ones. I would have been more confident to try to take this trade to see if it would go up, but all that didn't quite happen, so I left it alone. I saw it as a possible trade, but I just didn't, it wasn't good enough for me. So then prices continue moving up. Turns out it would have been a fantastic trade. I saw this one, but I wasn't around. I was in the bathroom. I saw this as a new low, first entry short, second entry short right here. But this second entry short, when it forms, it looks like a pretty terrible, signal bar for a second entry short. And then when this candle formed, not only is the second entry short confirmed because it breaks one tick lower, it also fails because it broke one tick above. Now, if I had seen this in real time, I think I would have placed my entry probably, seeing as this is pretty bullish, I would probably try to risk it and put it one tick above here, which would have been right, I think, right where the close is, and hope that the next candle would have picked me up. So this is kind of a missed trade just because, well, I wasn't around. It turns out it would have worked out pretty nicely. And then now it looks like prices are kind of reversing. And then, of course, I do see a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but it's a pretty bad signal bar. It's cutting right at the EMA. I didn't like it, so left that alone. It is choppy, continues moving down. And then we're getting close to pretty much the middle of, not the middle, the end of the last 30 minutes. So I'm just more like winding down now, just not trying to risk any more because I'm already up two trades. And I don't want to give any of that back. Prices continue just chopping around. And then you can see kind of toward the end of the day accelerates. There's more price action. But whether there's a second entry long or second entry short or any kind of setup, I don't want to be trading in this area because there's only like this is 12:55 Pacific Standard. There's only 5 minutes left in the regular trading hours. I certainly don't want to get stuck in something or take a loss or something and just, there's no need to risk that. Might as well just wrap things up for the day and come back tomorrow. So that's kind of how I saw the trades today. There weren't too many that I could find. It was very low volatility, low volume. Volatility was so-so. It just didn't quite set up enough entries for me. So hopefully that was helpful.